Hey guys, so if you're having issues with your lower back, some sort of tightness, grumbliness, then hopefully this video is going to help. If you've got severe issues or something doesn't feel right, you know, that feeling of actually not feeling right rather than just feeling a bit tight, then please don't go and see somebody, get things diagnosed. But generally with lower back issues, number one, unless you've been advised not to, movement is normally the most important thing. Just get out, go for a walk, get things moving. That's going to help. After that, it's normally lack of mobility in some key areas, and that's what we're going to work through today. Obviously, lack of core stability means that we're taking the strain with our lower back when we should be using our core. So working on that core stability, working on using your glutes as well. If either of those aren't working, lower back goes, hi, I can help, and does too much and gets sore. We obviously address core and glutes elsewhere in Quad Feel Fit. And then posture as well. If we either because we're tight, our posture is poor, or just because of habit over time, our posture is poor, again, we're putting that lower back into a position it doesn't want to be in. So let's start off with some mobility work. We're going to start off with our kneeling hip flexors. So one foot on the floor, one knee on the floor, and then tuck the tailbone under and tip the water out the back. So imagine your pelvis is a bowl of water, lift up at the front, tip the water out the back. Now you're probably thinking, but everything I ever do begins with hip flexor mobility, and that is because it is so key to everything that we need to do. In the context of our lower back, if we're tight in our hip flexors, then it's pulling the lower back out of alignment, and so it's leading to that lower back getting tight. So often my go-to if I'm working with a client with a tight back is just to do some hip flexor mobility, and I was going to say 9 times out of 10, that's probably slightly over the top, but certainly that helps to loosen things up. That helps to restore the mobility, and the lower back feels a lot better as a result. Let's swap sides, exactly the same on the other side. Tuck under, tip the water out the back. Now, as you're doing this, if you're feeling tight in your quads, your thighs, then press stop and go off and do a good quad stretch or roll first of all to loosen them off, because you need to be able to get into the hips. If you're too tight in the thighs, you won't be able to get into the hips. You can do your couch stretch, you can do a lying quad stretch, whatever works for you to loosen off the quads so that you can get into the hips. I'm just taking you sort of briefly through each of these exercises today. This would be enough if you just kind of want a morning mobility routine. Doing the kind of how long we're doing things for today would be absolutely fine. But if you try to go and you find you're really tight, then obviously press pause and go for longer. Okay, from there, we're going to go into your adductors. So taking one leg out to the side, stick that straight leg down into the ground. And then I'm just pushing my hips backwards and forwards. Almost tuck under as I come forwards, then push back. And as you do that, you should be feeling that stretch down the outstretched leg, just kind of moving through as you push your hips backwards and forwards. You guys keep going. I'm just going to move you down to a lower level so you can see what's going on. Down on the floor. So we've got that leg out and we're just going forwards and backwards. Hip all the way back. Lovely, swap sides, exactly the same on the other side. Loosening things up. And again, with everything we're doing today, if things feel really tight, then go in gently with all of our mobility work. It's about loosening, it's about working with your range of motion and slowly building it rather than trying to force anything. But also if it's feeling tight, just spend a little bit longer there. From there, we're going to go into, you've got 2 options here, either your lizards or Spiderman, I call them various different things at different points. So into a high plank, step your right foot forwards towards your right hand, and then we're just making circles around. So that's your one option. If that's too aggressive, if you can't get that foot forwards, that's something to work on long term, but we can lie on our back and pull our foot in. So I'm trying to keep that leg fairly straight, pull the other knee in, and again I can kind of circle it around there. So I'm doing almost the same. Could have that foot up in the air, but it's easier just to put my hand around my knee. So I'm doing almost the same in terms of what's happening at the hip, but it's just that little bit less aggressive, doesn't rely on me needing to get that foot quite so far forwards. So do whichever option you want, and then you can swap direction of those circles. Lovely, and then swap over onto the other side. I'm going to go back up this way for the other side, but absolutely up to you. find which one's right for you. I haven't swapped legs here because I swapped legs when I went onto my back, so just make sure you swap legs. And then change direction. So that might be enough for you. That hip mobility sequence might be enough for you to loosen things up. See how you're feeling. The other area that if we're tight in one area, we tend to then feel it in our lower back is our mid back. So we're designed that we're meant to be stable in our lower back, stable around our sort of neck area, but lots of movement in the middle. And if we haven't got that movement in the middle, then we try and find it in the lower back, which isn't designed to move. So let's loosen up that mid back area, and that's going to help the lower back. We're going to do your thoracic extensions. Now, this is where we go backwards over the foam roller. I know some of you hate it. So an alternative, which I don't think is so good, but if it's the right one for you, is to put your elbows up onto a chair or a table. If you happen to have a broomstick, it's going to help, but it's not essential. So I've got my elbows up onto the chair or table, or in my case, the wall, and then I'm dropping down in the middle. So I'm trying to get that arch. So belly button's coming down as far as I can. I'm getting that stretch. I'm getting a lovely stretch through my triceps as well. Try and bring those hands back down towards my shoulders. So that is an option. I don't think it's nearly as effective. If you're happy doing the foam roller option, I'd say that's a better option. So if we're going with your foam roller option, obviously if you don't have a foam roller, go for the one I just showed you and get a foam roller. So we're going to lie on our backs. We've got our feet on the floor. We're going to have the foam roller just at the top of the shoulder blades. And then I'm going to do a little sit up. So I'm engaging my core. I'm looking forward to feel that core engaging. And then with my hands crossed over my shoulders, I'm going to go backwards over the foam roller. And what I want to make sure is I keep that core engaged. So I keep my rib cage down towards my chest. I don't let the ribs flare up. So keep that core engaged. You can touch there and feel that feeling solid as you go back over the roller. If that feels okay, you can take your arms over your head just to let that loosen through. That's my shoulder rather than my lower back stopping me there. And hold it for a few breaths. Some people go up and down. I think that's quite aggressive. So I would just hold it for a few breaths. Each time you breathe out, trying to breathe out and let go of the tension. So going backwards a little bit more. Then we come up and we're going to go backwards on the roller. So now the roller's kind of mid-back, exactly the same. I would always start with my hands on my shoulders, see how it feels. Going backwards over. And then again, if you want to, and only if it feels okay, dropping the hands back. Now, obviously, if you've got back issues and this doesn't feel right to you, then absolutely don't be forcing it. Don't be doing this exercise if it doesn't feel right for you. Get to know your body and what works for it. A few breaths here. Lovely, come back up, and then final time, now we're at the base of the rib cage, and I'm just going to move forwards a bit. Base of the rib cage, backwards over, and arms over. If you want, you can keep the hands onto your chest if that feels better for you. So we're trying to keep the core engaged, keep those rib cage flat down to your tummy, and then from there, extending backwards. A few more breaths. Lovely. Now, while we're here, we can have a quick roll of our lats as well. Our lats are the big group of muscles that run over the back of the rib cage. So we can go up and down, working through, particularly if you're a swimmer, they can be getting very tight all the way. And then we can check in on our serratus, which is that little muscle sort of at the back of the armpit almost in there. See how things feel. And then same on the other side. I haven't been swimming in quite a while, so this feels fine. But if you are feeling tight, spend a little bit longer there. You can either have your bum on the floor if it's feeling really tight, or if it feels okay, you can have the arm above your head, bum off the floor. See if you can get in a bit deeper. Remember, with all our foam rolling though, we're not wanting to go more than a kind of 7 out of 10. If you're having to tense up, then you're just tensing up the muscle, you're not achieving the aim. Okay, so that's our thoracic extension, our ability to round backwards, as opposed to that hunch position we spend so much time in. Then we want our thoracic rotation. So kneeling on all fours. Now, if what you want to do is keep your hips where they are. This is the one where we go up and turn. If you know as you do that, my belly button's starting to face towards you, and therefore my hips are moving towards you, we want to avoid that. So we want to keep the hips facing down to the floor, and the movement only comes from this mid-back. If you find that when you do that, you end up moving anyway, you're moving the hips, then you can do bum on the floor, and that helps to keep you more set. So we're looking for the movement, just swiveling the rib cage around. And you can go up as far as you can, and then you can reach through. It's easier if you've got your bum in the air to do the reach through. You might like to bring that foam roller in, and then we can reach through and just use that to help us reach as far as we can. I'm not using the foam roller to roll with, I'm just using it to really help me reach. Up, turn, then keep the rib cage, keep the hips pointing down, belly button down towards the floor, just the rib cage moving. Roll through. And then exactly the same on the other side. Remember, if you can't get your hand in the air, it's absolutely fine just to get the elbow in the air. The movement is about what's happening with the rib cage, not with the arm. Also not about what we're doing with the head, but we do want that neck to be able to turn. If you know you've got a particularly tight neck, then you can be working through the mobility at the neck as well. But the main thing we're focusing on here is that thoracic, that kind of rib cage part of the back rotation. Okay, so again, hopefully now we've loosened that up, everything's feeling a bit better. Check in, how's your lower back feeling? Are things feeling looser? Now we're going to go into the more kind of lower back focused mobility. So number one, and this is the one that, again, sort of one of my bankers that really helps to get people loosened up when they're feeling tight, into your cat camel or cat cow, I never know what animals they are. So we all know the cat. Cat is arching that back up, belly button coming as far up towards the ceiling as you can. So your head drops down, belly button's coming up. You can even feel the stretch through the shoulders, but the main area we're working is through the back here. And then belly button comes down towards the floor, head goes up, bum sticking up in the air. And apparently this is a cow. I've never seen a cow do this. Probably less than a camel though. Going again, arch up, belly button up as high as you can. This is a core exercise. You should feel that core working as you lift up. Few more. And again, there's no right or wrong of how many you do of these. See how it feels. If it's helping, do some more, do them more regularly. We tend to be very sore in our lower back in the mornings, partly because we haven't moved overnight, partly because we dehydrate overnight. We actually shrink overnight, we get shorter. So doing a nice little sequence like this in the morning just to loosen everything up can be a really key way to start your day, as well as just getting some movement into the day and getting that all important hip mobility in. Last one. Then from there, we're going to take our right hand in front of our left hand, drop our hips out to the right. If you think about your kind of rib cage coming to the right with your bum going to the left. So if you look from above, or I'm making a kind of banana shape. So my hips are coming over here, my arms are coming over there, and my rib cage is coming out to the right. Hopefully that makes sense. So I've got my right hand in front of my left hand. I'm dropping my rib cage out to the right, but then bringing the left bum back to the left again. I always struggle to explain that, but it makes sense, I think. So feeling that stretch all down the right-hand side. Think about your breathing, nice deep breath. Breathe into that rib cage, really breathe in and feel the rib cage expand and feel that stretch lengthen. And then you can start just lowering the hips down, come back up, lower the hips down. Lovely, same on the other side. So now your left hand, in front of your right hand. Rib cage drops out to the left, right bum comes to the right. And then again, we can go up and down. I'm never as tight on this side, so I don't feel it nearly so much. And if you are tighter on one side than the other, that's the area to focus on. You don't have to do everything evenly. We want to get rid of the tightness. We want to address the imbalances wherever we find them. Lovely. Then from there, we're going to put our bum down on our heels, fingers out in front of us, and then walk those fingers forward. Keep walking them as far forwards as you can. If you have a bedpost or something, this can be really good to put your hands around the bedpost to give a really good stretch there. So we're just getting into our lats. Again, those muscles around the back of the rib cage. Stretching through there. Lovely. Staying on our front, we're going to go into a pigeon stretch. So stick one knee in front of you. So my right knee is facing forwards with my foot facing back behind me. And then I'm just coming down, and I can go down to my elbows if I can, or stay up here. Go for what feels right for you. And then just gently dropping the hips left and right. Often when we're tight in our glute, or around here it's more into our piriformis, that can then be leading to tightness around the lower back area. So just loosening up through there. And then swap onto the other side. Feel where that tightness is, and then just spend a little bit longer there. If it feels too tight, go to somewhere that feels more comfortable. As always, work to your range of motion. Lovely. And then on to probably one of my favorites, lying on your back. You're going to cross your right foot onto your left thigh, bring your left thigh in towards you, so you get a glute stretch there. Again, if that feels like that's useful, you can spend a little bit longer in that glute stretch. Sorry, get rid of the foam roller. And then we're going to drop both knees down to one side. Doesn't matter which side, because we're going to both sides. So keeping the foot crossed onto the thigh, drop the knees down to one side. You can put your arms out, kind of crucifix style. So your back staying flat or flattish to the floor as your legs go across to the other side now. So imagine that thigh that the foot's crossed onto is kind of like windscreen wipers, dropping to one side and then the other. Stay wherever you're feeling tightest. For me, this isn't the tight. Well, it's a bit tight, but definitely tight to go in the other direction. Use that breath, so each time you breathe out, try and feel that tightness slip away. So rather than trying to force it into a stretch, try and melt the tightness away. Breathe out, just feel those muscle fibers letting go of their tension. I'm doing a few breaths on each side, but go with what feels right for you. And then swap the feet over, so right foot onto left thigh, pull the right thigh in towards you, again getting that glute stretch into the left side if you want, and then we're dropping our legs side to side. Now I can't do this one so well, I've got a dodgy left hip, so that's not letting me drop out to that side so much. But again, adapt and work to your range of motion. So then you're just going to keep going side to side like that. A few breaths to each side. It still feels tight, spend longer there. You want to keep going till things are starting to feel looser. And there you could go back to just rechecking on that one that we did at the beginning, and that should all feel a lot easier now. So pulling the knee in towards you, you should feel that you're not having to kind of adjust at the pelvis so much. You've got better range of motion there, more able to just circle that knee around. Same on the other side. Then we can go into a hamstring stretch, so hand behind the thigh and just straighten the leg. Don't have to completely straighten it, but in the direction of straightening it. You want to keep a soft bend at the knee. We're not trying to stretch the back of the knee, we're trying to stretch the hamstring. Again, if our hamstrings are tight, that can be pulling our pelvis out of alignment, and then we end up with issues around that lower back area. Same on the other side. So hopefully some of that, oh, that feels better. Hopefully some of that has helped. As I say, find the ones that work for you. You maybe don't need to do that whole sequence every time, but find the things that are working for you. Do more of those. If things feel tight, spend longer there. If you feel I'm doing this and I can't see why I'm doing it, it doesn't feel tight at all, don't worry so much. I hope that helps. Let me know how you get on.